The Grizzlies said Morant has been suspended from all team activities pending review by the NBA, and the league also said it's looking into the situation. Now, Morant left the Grizzlies and entered a counseling program for 11 days. That was in March after a video showed the All-Star holding a gun at a Denver club when the Grizzlies were in town to play the Nuggets. He was eventually suspended 8 games after meeting with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, who called his conduct irresponsible, reckless, and potentially very dangerous. And I just want to add that yesterday on Countdown, Adrian Wojnarowski was on the show, and he said a lengthy suspension to start the season is like for Ja Morant. All right, Stephen A., so we're back here again. What's your reaction to this latest incident?
Sad, disappointing, and, you know, there's a bigger problem here. I don't know what that is, but there's a bigger problem here. This is the same Ja Morant who was suspended in March for 8 games because he was caught on video brandishing a weapon. 8 games, costing himself over $600,000. He was suspended then. I think the thing that really should be alarming to everybody is that it's one thing for you to do stupid, idiotic, irresponsible things. It's another thing for you to catch yourself. This is not TMZ or somebody else find a video. In March, that stuff was on Ja Morant's own Instagram account. Yesterday, or whenever it was revealed that he did the latest stuff, it was one of his boys sitting right next to him, putting it on Instagram Live. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's not called fool. That's not called foolish. That's called, it's like a new fool. You can't make this up. And so for me, when I think about this, I'm thinking about the fact that when I spoke to Draymond Green on his podcast months ago, he talked about how Ja Morant was one of the most brilliant minds in basketball. He said this brother he said everybody gives him so much credit because of his great athleticism. They don't give him enough credit for his intellect, how smart this brother is. So let's assume Draymond Green is absolutely right, and this is a highly intelligent brother. Then it was so much credit because of his great athleticism. They don't give him enough credit for his intellect, how smart this brother is. So let's assume Draymond Green is absolutely right, and this is a highly intelligent brother. Then that means it's not a matter of smarts. It's a matter of you being oblivious. And why would that be? Could it be because you got your bag? Could it be because that potential 5-year, $230 million contract that kicks in next season has you feeling bulletproof, no pun intended? Could that possibly be it? It makes no sense. All I know is this. We can look at laws throughout this country in various states, like in Florida. I think they just passed something where you don't even need a permit to carry. And in Alabama, they've got similar laws. And some would argue about the laws in Tennessee. We don't know where Ja Morant was when this latest video came about. But here's what we do know. We do know that the NBA is a private industry. And the NBA has its own rules. And if you're going to be a part of the NBA and associated with the NBA brand, there are rules and regulations you have to capitulate to. There are rules and regulations that they enforce, and they think that behavior antithetical to that is counterproductive to the success of the overall brand. And Ja Morant has now been caught on several occasions. You've got the incident in March. You got this latest incident. You got an incident that took place in Indianapolis when they were playing against the Pacers and one of his boys got into something, all right, had to be escorted out the arena. Apparently he had a problem with security, and Ja Morant was in the SUV when some red laser was being pointed at members of the Pacers party, which warranted a league investigation as well. We got somebody going after him because apparently he got into a basketball game with some high school prospect, and not only did you knock him upside the head, but then you went in your house and came out with a gun then, allegedly. We got all of this stuff, and Ja Morant has been associated with guns more than he's been associated with winning. And think about that for a second. Because you got Nike in the signature shoe, and suddenly Kyrie Irving ain't that big of a problem when you look at, because Kyrie ain't harm anybody. Kyrie ain't put himself in some kind of situation where it was considered an endangerment to other human beings. Kyrie didn't do that, okay? But the sneaker deal went away from him, and the public came down upon him, myself included, not being hypocritical here. The point is, it's nothing compared to what we're talking about with Ja Morant as it pertains to the company he keeps, the kind of stuff he's got on his person, along with just an attitude that says, you know what, I'll say what people want to hear, I'll convince them to believe it, but at the end of the day, what am I really, really doing? What Ja Morant said he was going to do, what he wants. He ain't changing for anybody. That's a quote that he gave just a few months ago. So guess what? The Memphis Grizzlies, this is the second time they're suspending him. How has that worked out? The league evidently is going to feel compelled to step in. And I've got people in the league texting me saying Ja Morant should be suspended for the year. I'm not saying that. I think that's too harsh. But there are people who are saying you got to send a message to the entire league that this kind of stuff is not going to be tolerated because it compromises the success of the brand. They are calling for Ja Morant to be suspended for the year. Jalen Rose was on TV Countdown yesterday. They talk about minimum 25 games. I'm riding with him on that. I think it's going to be about 25 games. Actually, I said it was going to be about 25 games. Jalen Rose thinks it's going to be half the season. I don't know, but I do know this. A suspension is coming, and it's going to be from the league, and it needs to be from the league because you can't trust the organization to handle it on their own. Evidently, that's not good enough because Ja Morant ain't listening.
Well, I'm going to say this. A wise man told me the stripes on a zebra never change. And I don't know why is this a surprise to any of us. Stephen A., after the first incident, you didn't believe that he was over it or seeked help in that short period of time and got back to a right space. Because
I never believed that.
It's nowhere in yeah, no, and you actually took some criticism behind that, but I actually was rolling with you with that. Here's the thing about Ja Morant, okay? More than $600,000 because he didn't get voted All NBA. It wasn't because of his talent. It was because of what he did off the court. Because he damn sure ain't get one of my votes, and that was one of the reasons why. That was the main reason why I didn't vote for him. So he actually lost way more money than that outside the endorsement deals that he didn't lost because of the situation. So after the first incident, I'm watching Ja Morant very closely. And I'm trying to see, are you going to change your image? Are you going to change the way that people view you? So I'm watching him. He still got the gold grill in his mouth. I said, he ain't learned yet. Because if you did, you're not even putting that in your mouth no more because the gold grill is nothing but the culture that really you don't even want to be attracted, to be honest with you. I come from the gold grill, from Texas. I know what it's about. And who are you doing it for? So at the end of the day, when this happened, I was sitting there saying, he's just a dummy. And this is the thing about Ja Morant. Ja Morant thinks that the NBA needs him. He actually thinks that. Like, when you start to have actions like this and you keep repeating it, you think that the NBA needs you. The NBA don't need you, Ja. I want you to think about this for a second, S.A. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, when they retired and walked away from the game, did the NBA stop? And they retired. Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, again, did the NBA stop? Hell no. The NBA is going to continue, and they're going to continue to find their young stars. And here's the thing that Ja Morant got to be careful of. We talking about 25 games or a year suspension. He better be careful if he's not out the league. Because no organization is going to continue to deal with this. The NBA is not going to continue to deal with this. And you know what they say, 3 strikes you out. And I don't see him changing at all.
Well, let me say this. I'm not going to go that far. I'm not excusing him by any stretch of the imagination, nor am I leaning on his age, because guess what? If you committed a real crime and you harmed somebody, I don't want to hear that you a kid then. Your ass is going to jail for a long time. You understand? And as an adult, it ain't gonna be as a kid. So let's make sure that we're clear about that. But I also want to, applaud. So many people idolize LeBron James and they talk about, his greatness as a basketball player, the CPBs of the world and others. You know what? I love how people pay attention to them and their greatness, but they think that's the only reason why they're celebrated so much and they got all the endorsement deals and everything. They actually know how to act. They know how to be adults and to be men and to understand what it takes to represent a brand, and that it's not just about themselves. And in the case of Ja Morant, my last comment, Molly, is going to simply be this. I'm not rooting against him. I'm rooting for him. I'm saying the things that I'm saying right now because I hope it's help. I hope all of us are. And I hope it's helpful to him so he will correct the error of his ways and won't find himself in this kind of predicaments ever again. But the biggest problem, Molly, is this. These guys are more inclined to kill the messenger rather than absorb the message. You see, Kendrick Perkins is a villain.
Well, that's a maturity thing.
See, but it's with all of them. It's with a lot of them, even the ones in their 30s sometimes. It's about the message. It's about the messenger instead of the message. And that's the problem. They got to accept accountability and accept truth and recognize how helpful the truth can be. And that's the problem that they have right now.
And a lot of time that's challenging and I don't know his inner circle, but if you have a lot of yes men around you, and that can happen often in those circumstances. Guys, there's much more. We're going to dive into this a little later, but let me get in a break here real quick. Still to come, it's down to the Lakers and Nuggets.